Well, despite 11 straight months of declines in Canadian home prices, rising interest rates continue to limit what prospective buyers can afford, ramping up pressure on the country's housing market. It's been showing up in the Canadian bank earnings. RBC's Canadian mortgage book, its largest loan category, has slowed to 1.1% quarter over quarter, down from 2.3% in the prior 3 months. For more on the real estate market and what this could mean going forward, we've got Barry Fenton, President and CEO of Lanterra Developments. So you're the one that is supposed to unlock supply, right?
Oh, for sure. But it's going to be some problems. But yeah, we are here to unlock supply.
Okay, so we'll walk through those problems. But because it's Canadian bank earnings season, a lot of the banks are calling out their commercial real estate exposure. Part of that is multifamily units, which is what you build. So what's it like? Do the banks still want to lend to you for new projects?
Well, that's an interesting question, and thank you for having me on. The top 5, 6 Schedule A banks, the CIBCs, BMOs, TD banks, Royal Banks, National Bank, HSBC, they're all very much big supporters of Lanterra. And I think that they're very big supporters of the A clients out there. There's no question that they're being told by credit people to be a little more careful, et cetera, and you can see that in takeout financings for potential purchasers. But they're game on, and they understand that in that pie shape of what they have to have in their inventory and in their asset base, that real estate's very important.
Do you feel as game on about it? I know this is your bread and butter, this is what you do, but how do you have that confidence in terms of saying yes to new projects when we are perhaps on the eve of a recession, or does it feel like we are?
Well, I may look young to you, but I've been doing this for a long time. This is not my first rodeo. And the market, of course, over years of time has gyrations. But real estate is something, especially in the condo business, is needed, required, and asked for. So, right now we're being a little more cautious in new releases, but I'm very, very confident and bullish that in the next 2 to 3 years, interest rates will come back down. There's a problem now with respect to people wanting product versus supply and what we can offer. So I think it's an all good story. The
banks get asked, what are the early indications that you see of a slowdown? And often it's, people will always pay their mortgage, but if they're stressed, they might credit cards, right? You might start to see delinquencies or they're late on their credit card payments. Are there signs similar to that in your business? You mentioned kind of those new builds or new projects. Are they sitting on the market for longer than when things are, full and raring to go, or is it business as usual?
Well, I look at the landscape over the last 25 years. I've sold with my partner over 23,000 condominium units. We've only had default on 2 units.
Wow.
So that tells you the story. So whether people are feeling a little bit more sensitive because the cash flow isn't there, or they're concerned about a prime rate of 6.7%, Amber, I don't think that affects the bottom long-term decision-making.
What's the mood of the purchaser right now? This excitement that you need to get into the market, you need to get in, housing is too much, so I'll buy a condo. There's all sorts of psychological elements that go into the purchases. You have got your finger on the pulse of that. What does it feel like right now?
Well, the condo business is a different business, and that is the most affordable inventory of asset for real estate around. And if we release a project, I'm pretty sure we're going to have the same response. We're just being more careful, because what we're trying to drill down on is costs of building the project. We at Lanterra are lucky enough to have a very well-established construction company internally, so we're able to control our costs way better than, I believe, a lot of third-party construction managers. So we are careful about that, and that's why Mark and I are with Chris, are trying to figure out ways of when we should release units. We want to make sure that we have all of the line items down, so when we actually release a project, because we sell something today that we deliver in 4 years, that we can deliver it and we have to make a profit.
Let's talk a minute about that, because cost inflation is something every executive needs to deal with. How did it evolve over the pandemic? Where are you now? Do you have a sight line into whether some of those pressures are easing, or are they more persistent? How do you think about that?
Well, things happen for a reason, and it was very interesting because when we were doing our pro formas 2 years ago and 3 years ago, we ran substantially less contingencies on the bottom line. So we were forced over the last 2 years, and due to our banks requesting it, that we had to increase the contingency. What I mean by that is you add a certain percentage in case things go wrong.
Yeah.
So what we noticed was for about a year ago that the prices like steel and cement and labor costs substantially increased. I can suggest to you now that we've seen a decrease of between 15 and 20% off the highs on commodity prices over the last 4 to 5 months, which is substantial.
So
and
you're
that
seeing
really,
it come off.
yeah, so I think we're over the people pressing to get more dollars out of purchasers like ourselves.
So we can't talk about the housing market without talking about immigration, and that's perhaps a countervailing force to recessionary factors. How do you think about that, and is that going to be substantial in buffeting any kind of slowdown?
Well, I mean, you read the newspapers every day, and they're telling you that they have millions of people coming in immigration over the next 5 years or 6 years. They also talk about foreign tax and the fact that you can't build, that they're not allowed to buy product now. I can respectively suggest that if I released 5,000 units a year, which we do, that we will find local people to buy those units without immigration, without foreign purchasers. So it's all a good story. I mean, all the immigration and foreign tax people or foreign purchasers do is add more fuel to the fire and add more gas to the fireplace.
I can't let you go without talking about one of the big themes, which is hybrid workforce. And how are you thinking about the locations of your businesses, of your buildings? Do they need to be close to offices anymore? Can you explore more far-flung type of developments? You know, does that kind of downtown core intensity matter as much?
I don't think so. I think people in the condo business like living in downtown, like living midtown, uptown, and I don't think it really makes a difference whether they have office continuity or not. And in fact, we own office buildings, and there's no question that the units are running. Some of our inventory is running at 40-50% occupied. But I think actually that whole market is going to turn around over the next year to 2 years.
So you're going to wait, not redevelop them into something else?
Well, we're opportunistic, so we'll see how that goes. But no, we're bullish, generally speaking, about the market, and we're not going to be fools and say that we haven't been hurt by what's going on presently. But success is built on falling a little bit, and so we're very confident. And we really understand the business that in the next 5 years, I believe that the market in general will be substantially higher, rates will be down, and it's going to be a good story. Hopefully you'll have me back, and I'd
love to continue, but unfortunately we're out of time. We've given us some great insights. Barry, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
That's Barry Fenton, President and CEO of Lanterra Developments.